Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Live Coding with RabbitWerks JavaScript. Tonight we are picking up where we left off last week, and half of my basement is underwater, so if I have to run and do some quick vacuuming, then I apologize in advance, but all that snow that we've been getting in the last month, 2 months, it's all melting, and it's been raining the last 2 days, and it's all decided to come into the basement, so fun times here at RabbitWerks JavaScript, but it's not going to stop us unless we flood. So anyways, that hasn't happened yet, so fingers crossed, and let's get going. So really quick, tonight we are going to be jamming out to the new RabbitWerks Code Beats Spotify playlist that I have up and running, and I've been doing a couple of trial runs for a live stream just to see how the content ID stuff works with YouTube. Seems to be alright, so we're gonna jam that and see what happens. And if you want to check out the playlist after the fact or anytime, the link is in the description. You can go and follow it and use it for your own coding needs. Cool. Alright, so let's take a look at the work log really quick and see what we're going to do tonight. So last week we ended up implementing this component down here with the custom name, input, and a download button. So right now the download button doesn't necessarily do anything, so we're going to fix that tonight and get our download logic set up. But first we were talking about getting a custom Google font pulled in and making this look a little bit nicer, so we can do that, start off with an easy task and roll into it smoothly. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Live Coding with RabbitWerks JavaScript, and let's say hello to the people in the chat. And joining us tonight for another live coding session, as always, is Joshua. Thank you for tuning in, Josh. Hope you're having a good night. And one of these things I was thinking about, so after the download logic, we're going to get the update image size function fixed. Or I'm sorry, we're going to update our image size function. Basically, this function right here that's supposed to get the image width and height of the image that we upload. But it's written a little incorrectly, so we're going to modify it so it works correctly. And then, depending on how long we have and how long all that takes, there's two other items that I wanted to add into this at the bare minimum. Might not be able to get to it tonight, but I think it'll be a good idea. We talked about a reset filters button, so we can just reset all the filters back to their default states. And I think it'll be a good idea to display the filter values as well, so we'll probably just display it right there. So when we slide it, we know where we're at, not just kind of like going off of the abstract of the positioning of the slider. So cool. All right, without further ado, let's get started. So let's custom Google font. So how are we gonna use this inside of a Vue project? Well, if you remember, we've been using, there's a couple ways you can do it, but mainly the easiest way that I've been finding is, since we're using a main CSS file that we can access globally, I just like to import it through that. So we're going to import the style at the top. Another way you can do it is if the app.vue, you can actually just see how we're importing the CSS files right here. So we can actually import the font family just right there as itself. But I think we're going to just stick to keeping it in the main CSS file, just so that our app.vue file stays clean. Yeah, and Josh was saying in the chat that a sprint could be to customize the sliders to look nicer. Could even put the text inside the slider that way. And that could work. The problem, I don't know if you've ever tried to customize the stylings of these sliders, but it is not the easiest thing to do. I did have the very first iteration of this project that I did. I used a custom Range.css. Can't remember who wrote it, but I'll link the repo, the GitHub repo in the description if you want to check it out. But it's basically just for custom styling the header or the range sliders. It's kind of a pain in the butt because each browser renders them differently, and they all use different stylings and stuff. So to make them look the same on each browser is the real challenge. But we could give it a shot. Maybe we'll see what happens. Okay, cool. So let's go into Google Fonts. And if you haven't ever gone to this website, I highly suggest it, or fonts.google.com. It's basically all the super nice web fonts that you can use in your projects. And this is like the surefire way to get really nice fonts without having to like worry about messy custom imports and like having the user have to like download the font file and all that stuff. It's a lot easier these days to just go through and import a font from Google Fonts or another likewise service. Let's see. Joshua had a suggestion last session for a font on here. Basically, just kind of go through. There's so many that you can spend hours scrolling through here, and I'll just pick something. And I think we're gonna want something sans serif, so without the little flares on the sides of everything. We want, would be a sans serif font, and this would be a serif font. Rubik, that looks nice. Oxygen, let's do that one. I like that one. So we can go in here, click the little plus. You can actually click the whole thing and it'll bring it into more detail on all that good stuff. It'll show you some good pairings between the two, so it looks like Open Sans and Oxygen is used, popular pairings with that font. So it's a super cool site for checking out all these awesome fonts. So we're just going to pull that in, and when we click this tab down here, we can click on the customize thing, and you'll see all the different available font weights and stylings and stuff that they have for each font. This one looks like only has a few. And so we'll just take them all. Usually you only want to like limit it to the maximum 3. You can see that the load time went up to moderate, but when you're built-in production and whatnot, you probably want to try and limit it to 2 different font weights. So what I'll do usually is I'll pull in multiple font weights, see what looks best, and then eliminate the ones I'm not using before building it. Neat. Cool. Okay, whoops. So what we want to do here is, so we're going to go back to the embed tab right here, and it says embed font, and we're going to click the import, and this is how we're going to import it directly into the CSS. So just take this whole statement right here and copy that. Sorry, it's hard to see on this tiny font monitor. And then we'll just drop it right into our main CSS file right at the top here. And then the last thing we got to do is make sure that we're using that. And so right on the HTML body tag, font family, you see how it says sans serif right here? Well, we are going to plug in Oxygen now. You just type in the name of it in quotes, the name of the font. Oxygen, comma, and then sans serif for a fallback. And let's see what that does. Boom. Neat. It took a second to load in, but that's alright. And cool, that looks pretty nice. We might want to change that. We could give it a little bit of with the boldness of it, we could give it a little bit of letter spacing. I don't know, we'll have to see. Navbar brand, and then navbar brand text. We don't even have that. Okay, so navbar dash brand text, and let's just give that some letter spacing. Let's try 1 pixel and see how that looks. Looks alright, I guess. Maybe we could just drop the font weight on it and keep it the same letter spacing, because sometimes it looks goofy when you start spreading things out. That looks alright with the 0.5 pixel there, so I think we'll keep that for now. And cool. So I don't know. I think we'll go with that font. It looks all right. I mean, you can play around with a bunch of different ones. Put whatever one you want in there. Try some different pairings. Usually you'll have like a more flashy display kind of font for headings and like your brand and all that stuff. And then you'll have like an easy to read, easy to view, very legible font for content and all that stuff. So let's get into the design, but anyways, just some rules of thumb to keep in mind. Cool. And so, no, I didn't get a new keyboard. Why do you ask? Is it loud? Or am I just making a bunch of mistakes? Let's see. Okay, so let's go to the work log and... Oh, Joshua was asking in the chat if I got a new keyboard. Custom font is down. And let's move on to the download logic. Alright, cool. We can close this tab now. Don't need that. Alright, so there's a couple things that we're going to want to do in this. When we're done with the download logic, we're going to update the image size function. That doesn't need to be, indented like that. And cool. And let's see, so what do we want to do really quick? Let's, before we go any further, let's just commit this really quick. And we are in our download image branch still, so that's fine. We can just work in this as long as we're not in master. Like we talked about a little bit last week at the end of the stream about just kind of scratching the surface of Git and working in different branches versus master and all that stuff. So right now we're in our download image branch. As you can see, it's denoted right here in blue. And we're just going to work on that for now, since most of the work we're doing tonight will be in that. And then if we finish that feature, we'll go through the process of committing, merging, and then making a new branch for our filter stuff. So, cool. Alright, let's just say git add dot for git add all, and it's a period, not a dot, but it's easier to say dot sometimes. And git commit dash m. And do I need to turn up the audio on the music? Is that what the issue is? Or is that alright? I can't tell, so because the level that I hear in my ears is different than the level that is being broadcast, the way it's set up right now. So if it is ever too loud or too quiet, feel free to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, followed by a speaker emoji. Okay, pulled in Google font and fixed brand. Cool. Alright, next thing we want to do, let's move into the download logic like we were talking about. Close the main CSS file and our navbar brand file, since we won't be needing that. Okay, so like I was saying before we got into Git for a second, there's a couple things we want to do. We're going to have to write our download function. On top of that, in that process, we're not going to actually be using this display canvas element or component anymore. We're just going to create a canvas in the function when the function runs, when the download function runs, excuse me. So we can actually just get rid of this, but before we do that, let's just get our function up and running before we make any drastic changes. So let's see, we can minimize that a little bit. We don't need that much space being taken up by the terminal, if at all. So the display image and display. So we are going to write this. Let me just check my notes really quick. I'm going to write it in the display image component. Or wait a second. What do I need to do here? We're going to want to make it in the do it inside the download button component? Or do we want to just fire a custom event? I guess we could fire a custom event from this component and then run our download function when that event gets listened to. Otherwise, we would have to do the logic and build the canvas and everything inside of our download button component, and I don't think that's what we want to do in this case. Download button is probably a good place for it. Alright, well I guess scratch that, we'll do it in the download button component. Why not? Okay. But what do we need to get for this? We need to pull in, let's see, we need to get our image source. We need to get our image source and excuse me. Okay, so let's start by pulling in our image from our Vuex store. So we need to set up a computed property, computed, not computer, and this one is going to be the image. Let's just say image, and that will be a function that returns, return this dot $store dot getters dot get image. I think that's what it is. Let's just double check. We can pull up our store.js up here in our getters and get image. All right, so it returns the state.image. Cool. So we have our image in here now, and now we can say I want to take a look at my Vuex store really quick so I can see. I just need to refresh my memory. Oh, not that. Because I've been working on a different project, a couple different projects, not this one, and jog my memory. Vuex. Okay. Return filter string. So we need to pass the let's see. We need to send the filter string back through Vuex so we can get it to the download button component. Otherwise we don't have our filters, and we need that to pass into the canvas. So let's see. This is turning into a little bit more than just a quick code of a function. That's all right. We got our filters right here. So instead of rebuilding that string, can we just all right, so after, let me just minimize this. Sorry for the scrolling. All right, after filters here, where's the bottom of the array? Right here. All right, so after filters, we'll have a property at the bottom called filter string, and it will be an empty string, just like that. Okay. Yeah, so we'll need to have a getter for the filter string, but instead of rebuilding it, I think if we just pass it in, oops, where is it, image. If we just pass it into Vuex in our computer property, from our computer property here, and then we can just use a getter from this and just bring in the filters. Or you know what, we could probably just keep it stored in the image since we're already and Joshua is saying make a getter for the filter string since you want it computed when needed rather than constant on the state. And I'm not quite following him. So, okay, so he's saying that make a getter, what are we getting? Are we just taking the specific properties out of this? And building it? I don't know. You send me some code over Discord and then we'll take a look at it. I'm having trouble following without the context of kind of your train of thought. But let's just try it like this and then see if we can get it working, and then maybe we can refactor it more efficiently. Okay, so let's see. Okay. And Joshua just said, actually, never mind, since the getter can't easily be watched or computed. Alright, so if you think of anything, let me know. But for now, we're just going to go about what I was talking about. And I think instead of having this filter string property down here, we will just put it up inside of our image property or object. And that way, when we pull the image into our download button, we'll have access to the filter string automatically. And of course, we're going to have to set up a mutation and also an action to handle this setting of our data to the state. Alright, okay, so let's see. So let's come down here to our actions and we can just say, oh, that's right, Joshua was suggesting that we need to put overflow scroll on this guy too, the filters panel, so we'll have to do that as well. Let's make a note of that really quick while I remember it, and update after this. Overflow scroll on filters panel. Smiley face. Cool. Alright, so that's the next thing we're gonna do here is go back to what we were doing in the first place, which is, so let's take a look at this image now. Oh wait, before we do that, let's go back to our Vuex store, and we need to write our action and mutation. So, what do we want to do? We're going to pass this filter string in, so we're in the display image component, and let's just say it's going to be, where do we want to write it first? Let's go back to the store. We're going to go in the store and we'll say set filter string and then store, just so we know where it's being called and what it is. I guess like action would be better too, but in the grand scheme of things, we can call this action in the Vue component, so it kind of tells me that it's, I guess the same thing would work if we said action, but I'm using store because that's what I've used, so. And we have context again, and then let's actually, since we've been talking about some destructuring stuff, doesn't look like any of our destructuring. Okay, we must be on a different branch that I didn't commit, but for the master when we were doing the debug canvas thing. But so okay, so we talked about destructuring a little bit before, and let's just let's go again and refresh. So destructuring is pulling specific properties out of an object and assigning them to like their own variables. So if we had like say this object right here, we could pull the name out and the max out if we wanted to quite easily. So in this case, it's we have this context object, and it's got a bunch of different stuff in it specific for Vuex, and there's one thing that we want specifically, so we can call it mutations, and that's the commit, because we dispatch an action and commit a mutation to state. So what we want to do is the first argument that we pass in is going to be, we'll enter in a set of curly braces like that, and that's for destructuring the object, and we pull out the variables or the properties that we want. So in this case, it is commit. That's the only thing we want. And if you wanted more things, we could say commit and like dispatch something or other. We can look through it again at some point and see what all is good, what all is in there. But there's a lot of stuff in there. Go ahead and, because if you're interested, go ahead and write an action, and then you can just come in here like this and just console log the commit, or I'm sorry, the context, and that'll give you it'll show you an object. You can look inside of it and see what's good and what all. There's a lot of different interesting stuff in there you can play around with. So cool. All right, so the second argument that we pass into this is going to be our payload. All right, neat. Just like that, and then now we don't even have to say context.commit because we pulled commit out of the context object, and so therefore we can just call it as its own deal now. And it's basically like if we were to say context.commit, but we've eliminated a step to make it easier on us. So commit, and then the name, and it's going to be set filter string. And we're going to put the muta suffix modifier, whatever you want to call it, on there. All right, so that's the first argument we passed in there, and then the second one, again, is we're just passing it through the payload. All right, neat. And don't forget our commas and our semicolons. All right, cool. So let's go back to the display image view. Now that we have that in here, we can call it. And so right here, before we return the filter string, because once it reads the return statement, then everything else past it doesn't get evaluated. So it's essentially unreachable code. No good. So right here is where we're going to want to do it. So we'll say, where is it? Oh, before we do that, we have to pull in right here. Make sure we bring in our action that we just wrote. So in map actions, it's an array of strings named the actions that we have inside of our Vuex store, and then we can call them as if they were like actual methods on, or functions on our methods object. So set filter string is the name of this guy. Cool. And it is the store. Just like that. Alright, now with that in there, now we can come in here and just say this set filter string store, and then we will pass in the filter string, and that is our payload. Cool. And there we go. Excellent, excellent. Now, what do we need to do? We're just going to go back into our store. Let's finish up this process and write our mutation now. So we can say underneath this guy, we will write in our comments, so we can just tell that the payload is the filter string. I mean, we could reassign it to a new variable called the filter string, but that is kind of redundant, and it just is excess code that isn't necessarily useful. Unknown mutation filter string. Yeah, I know, that's because we haven't done anything yet, so we haven't written it yet. Okay. Set filter string muta. Alright, cool. And then this one takes this mutation takes 2 parameters, 2 arguments, the state and then our payload. So automatically gets passed in the state, and then we pass in our payload. And then inside the body of this, we can just say state.image.filter string equals payload. Excellent. Just like that, and we should have it. Let's make sure we get a comma there. No errors. Everything looks kosher. All right. Let's see. Let's just come in here and say console.log. We don't actually need to do that. Let's just pull up our Vue dev tools. And actually, Joshua in the chat was saying that we should go through and start cleaning up the console logs too at this point, and it's probably a good idea. Go through and clean up a lot of the dead code at some point here quickly, soon. Okay, so where are we at? Let's see, come in here, and let's see, back in here, image, filter string, and looks like it's in there. And if we change the brightness, it looks like it changes, kind of. I think it's changing, it's just not, that's not reflecting in the, oh, it's not showing us the thing, but it is changing. So if we look at it, it's changing, and it's doing all that good stuff. Okay, so let's pull up an image and just take a look at this. Cloudinary, login. Cloudinary is awesome. If you want to check it out, it's a sweet asset hosting and videos and media asset hosting site. You get like 20 gigabytes of free storage for free, or 11 gigabytes of free storage. I don't know, it's pretty sweet. I like it. It's good for not having to like try and keep track of your images all over the place. You can just host them all here, and then they have tons of transform URLs and stuff that'll automatically transform your image, crop it, optimize it, all that good stuff. So check it out. Check out the link in the description. It's neat. I don't get anything for you clicking on any of these links by any means, and I'm not looking to get anything. So feel free to click away. Let's go with the Japanese or Oriental. I'm not sure what it is exactly where we're at in this picture, but Oriental Arcade. We might just be somewhere like Pac-Man, I don't know. That's a slow loading picture. Alright, copy image address. So this is the image that we copy, image address that we want. And if you can see, it has this crazy link, and that's the CDN that it has. It stores all its good stuff on and sends it back your way with all the correct adjustments. And yeah, alright, so pull it up in here, just take a look at it. Cool. And then the brightness. Cool. Neat. Alright. Okay, so we got our filter string property. It's inside Vuex now, and we can pull that in. So if we take a look at the component inspector and we go into the download button component, which is inside the save image panel, and download button has our image property right there. And it looks like we have our filter string, and let's just confirm that it's changing on the fly. That, poof, sweet, and it's like seamless. Excellent, excellent. So that's cool. Next thing, what do we want to do? We'll come back to you later on, Mr. Get Image Size. First, we have a date with download, and let's do that. So inside of our download, we don't need this display image component open anymore. Inside of our download button, let us write a function. Alright, so inside of our Vue instance, we're going to open up our methods object, and then inside there we're going to write a function. Yeah, function. One of those things. Alright, we'll say call this function download image, and that is going to be just like that. Alright, so the first thing we need to do in this function is we need to initialize a variable. We need to initialize a variable with a initialize a variable that holds an element. That element is going to be the canvas, HTML canvas. So before I was saying that we can go through once we're done here and just get rid of this display canvas component altogether. And you might be thinking, why are we going to do that? We don't need to. But we're going to, because we're just going to create one on the fly when we click this download button and run this function. So let's do that. We'll say const canvas equals document dot, let's create element, and then inside there we just pass in the element we want to create in a string, so it's the canvas. Alright, so and then we need to set the height and the width of this canvas, so it's going to be the height and the width of the image. So canvas width equals this dot image dot height, and not height, width, sorry. We're crossing our axes here. Must be all this crazy weather. Speaking of which, I should probably check that water. Canvas dot height equals this dot image dot height, just like that. Cool. All right, cool. Now what do we got to do? We have our height and our width and our height set, so now we need to initialize how we're going to start rendering on this canvas. And if we remember from where is it? Somewhere in here maybe. Oh, this is the wrong component, my bad. Right here. So if we look at our old canvas component, we have this const. We're grabbing the canvas off of the HTML, but we're not doing it this time. But we do have to initialize our context, which we're going to be rendering in 2D in this case. So we have to say const context equals canvas dot get context, and then we just pass in 2D and a string like that. Right? Yep. Okay, sweet. All right, nice. Now we have our context object, and we can apply our filters to that context object. So we're going to say context dot filters, filter with no s, just one singular, equals this dot image dot filter string, this dot image dot filter string. just like that. All right. And then finally, what we have to do is, now that we have all of our info inside of the canvas that we need, if we actually need to draw our image on top of it. So we're going to say context.drawImage, which is a function built into the canvas rendering context 2D API. And it takes a number of different arguments. So it's going to take the image source. So it's going to be the image source, the starting X, the starting Y, and then the second two arguments, or the third and fourth argument that we pass to it, is the width and the height. So we have a size of the image to pass in. Hope that makes sense. So basically, the top left corner of the image and the bottom right corner of the image, like the size, the pixel size. Pixel location geologically according to the screen and all that stuff. So don't blame me, blame Mozilla. I'm just kidding. Anyways, all right, let's do this. So we're going to say context.drawImage, and we'll say this dot image. Wait a second, are we going to be able to pass that in, or do we have to? Right. That's just a source, yeah. So this dot image, where is it? This dot image dot source. Oops. This dot image dot source. Excuse me. And then we're going to say 0 for the starting X and 0 for the starting Y, and then this dot image dot height. Or, I'm sorry, it's width, always width and then height. So this dot image dot width, and then this dot image dot height. Cool. And then this would be a good case for explaining a little bit more of object destructuring really quick. So if we wanted to do that, destructure this image object a little bit, we could just say inside of our download image here, we can just say const, and then open up a set of curly braces, and then inside of here we're going to type out the properties that we want to pull out of the image object. So we have source, width, height, and filter string. Right? And then so once we have all 4 of those right there, the ones we want to pull out, we just set it dot equal to this dot image. So the parent object of the properties that we're pulling out. So the image is the object, so this dot image, and then the properties we're pulling out of that object. So now we can go through and all these this dot image, I think we can just say width, height, and filter string, source, and again width and height. So you can see that it kind of makes it really, it cleans up your code a lot. It really helps with readability and just overall character amount. So, all right, cool. Well, let's. Hopefully that works in the way we intended it to. But that's basically another look at object destructuring, a little bit more traditionally versus how we were looking at it through the Vuex store sense, because we're looking at the whole image and using the whole object and stuff like that. So it makes more sense on why you would want to destructure it in this case. You can see it more visually than the other case, but cool. All right, next thing we want to do is we're going to download this sucker. So let's make sure we get the semicolon there, and just give us some space here, and we want to say canvas.toBlob. And blob is kind of like basically just a giant object of data information. a little bit more useful than like a data URL, so to speak. I'm not 100% sure all about the blob, but I will definitely link the documentation of the Mozilla Mozilla Developer Network to HTML Canvas to blob function to see all the capable stuff. And in fact, let's just take a look at it really quick. So I have it right here, and we'll just pull it up in. There we go, just like that. All right. So here's MDN web docs. Make sure to take a look at it. HTML canvas element.toBlob. The HTML canvas element.toBlob method creates a blob object representing the image contained in the canvas. The file may be cached on the disk or stored in memory at the discretion of the user agent. If type is not specified, the image type is default to the image PNG. The created image is resolution of 96 dpi, so a little bit better than your average screen resi, about 72. Neato Toledo. Alright, so syntax canvas.toBlob, callback, mime type, and quality argument. So we're just gonna worry about the callback, or like the body of the function, or essentially we're not going to worry about the mime type for now, and we're not going to worry about the quality argument for now. So what we might do is be able to choose right here or something like that between JPEG and PNG, but for now we're just going to keep it as the default, which is PNG. Alright, so cool. So if we look at this example down here, we're basically just going to pull it on this. Take a look at that, and we basically just create a new URL from the blob, and we download that URL. Okay. And it looks like Joshua in the chat posted the link to the documentation, so if you want to take a look at that, feel free to click the link. I'll also have it in the description as well. So cool, thank you for doing that, and let's get back to, let's attempt to write this now. So canvas.toBlob, and it's going to take the blob object as an argument. Alright, and so we'll just open up an arrow function, and inside the body of the arrow function, there's a couple things we want to do. So first we're going to initialize a variable, call it link, and this is going to be basically kind of what we did with the canvas. We're going to create a new element, a temporary element. So we'll say const link equals document dot create element, and then again we pass in the element that we want to create in as a string inside as the argument, just like that. Alright, and then we want to create the URL to append to that link, so we're going to pull that out of the blob that it creates. And actually, you know what, let's just take a look and see if we can take a look at this blob just to see what's going on here. So if we have, oops, I ended up deleting or closing out my picture. Copy that link one more time, bring it into our app. If we have that in there and we click the download button, what are we getting here? Let's see. That's coming from the canvas. We don't want that. Display image. That's not what we want either. Oh, we're not even calling. We need to be able. We need to make sure that we're calling the function. All right. So. All right. Let's just add that in really quick. So in our button element here, we're going to add in just above the class, we're going to add a click listener. So at click equals download image, just like that. Neat. Okay, now let's try it and see what it gives us. We can refresh this, pop in our link or our image URL one more time. Click that. Failed to execute draw image on canvas. Provided value is not type CSS. Uh-oh. We might not be able to do it like this. Let me just try and say this dot image dot source. Yeah, it's giving me the same thing. Shoot. Okay. Okay, so before we go any further, I need to address the water issue. So I'm going to take a quick break. Before we get back, we're going to finish up this function and see what else we get done. So thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of RabbitWerks JavaScript. Stay tuned for the second portion of this session, and we'll be back shortly. Baby. Alright, and we are back, and not a moment too soon, because this track is dope. It is Miss Beneath Your Apartment by City Girl. Great tune, available on the RabbitWerks beat code beats playlist. Go and check it out. All of this good vibery that we've been listening to tonight has been a part of that code beats playlist, so feel free to go check it out and follow it and get your productive juices flowing and all that good stuff. So thank you so much for tuning in to RabbitWerks live coding again. And before the break, we were just working on our download image function, and it looks like Josh in the chat has also came up with the answers that we actually have to pass an image into this context.draw image, not just a source link or a source string or whatever. So we're going to do that as well. So we'll probably just at the beginning of this download image here, we'll probably just make a new image and pass it in. So how do we do that exactly? The correct way. Image. I think we just pass it in. Okay, it's new image. Pass it in as the first argument. And new image with height. Let me set the document.create image. Alright, so let's see now. So if we say const image, not const image, let's see. Const new image equals new image, and then width and height. Image to download will be what we call it. Okay, so const image to download equals new image, and then we can just say image to download. We can actually just set the source property just like that. Dot source, and that's going to be set to this. Actually, you know what? If we put this below this other const here, so we can just say equals source. That, right? And let's just see console.log, another log, I know, but I just want to see what it pulls up. That source. Let's see what that gives us. See if that's working. I'm pretty sure it's working, but just need to make sure. Alright, pull that into our app. Click the download button. Alright, download button. This error is fine. So, view 25, line 25, download source. Looks like it's working. Sweet. Cool. So it needs a height. Joshua is saying it needs a width and a height when initialized. So this comes back to, if we look at the work log, this updating get image size function. So I guess that kind of does play on the download logic. So we'll push that over and indent that again. we have to get our, for now we just have the image height and width of the image that's being displayed, but that's not the actual image and height of the image that we're loading. So if we look at it, inspect it really quick. Where is it? Okay, right here you can see this intrinsic value right there. So it says 260 or 622 pixels by 415 pixels, the intrinsic size. So the true value size of this is going to be 5,184 pixels by 3,456. It's a big picture, so go figure it takes a second to load. It doesn't look like this Cloudinary link is the optimized and scaled down one, which is alright, I guess. I think we're going to switch it out for one that does have that. We can actually demonstrate that really quick at some point. Oh, I feel like we're on too many tangents tonight. Okay, but that's alright. I'll try and keep it as streamlined as possible. So, image to download.source equals source, and now we should be able to pass that in to, if we go back to our context draw image function, we should be able to pass that in this property now here. So image to download, just like that. And let's see. So we have that in there. Let's see if that gives us what we want now. Let's give ourselves a refresh. Load in that, and we click it, and we have no errors, and it returns null. Let's see, we wanted to 34. Where is it? Console.log. Returning null. That's interesting. Weird. Right. Oh, so Joshua was saying now that you're doing it this way, we can make the canvas size the original image size. Rather than an actual new image element. Well, okay, yeah, let's see. What does it take? Oops, not that one. Where was I seeing that at? Let's see. Let's look at this really quick. Oh, okay, so maybe we need to pass in a new image element to it rather than a new image. So what if we said instead of new image, we did document.newImage, or not new image, create element, and then say image, and then we should be able to append the source, because it's an image, so it should have a source attribute. We should be able to append our source to that source attribute. And now it should be an image element. right? Because it's an element, not just like a JavaScript image object. And let's try it. Worst that I can do is return null again, so. Let's see, paste that into here and click download and it returns null. So that's not good. So do you think it needs to be like a rendered like on the page? Maybe it's the source that's, well no, because that's in there, right? If we look at, let's console log this one more time. Console.log, and now let's say image download, since we changed that to document.create element. Click that. Yeah, so it has an image, now it's an image. Oh yeah, so you were saying in before we were using the targeting the image with the ref attribute. Oh, so are you saying right here, like we should append that image like to it, or hold on a second, let me go back here for a second. Go to, oh, I want that, and then so if we said so I want to target that, but it's in a different component. It's in the ref that we're looking for is in this display image component up here. But I don't think we can target that as easily as just saying this.refs, because this is referring to this view component. And oh yeah, I think that's a good call there, Joshua. He was saying in the chat that we need to wait for the image to be loaded, and I think that's what we're getting tripped up on. So let's say, oops, let's back this up a little bit. Okay, so that's right, and then we need to swap this out to new image. And from there, initialize it. Okay, so we append the source to it, and then what we need to do is say image to download dot onload, so just like that, and then that will be equal to a function, just like that, an arrow function, and then inside that we can say set what is it? Is it in here that we'll have to, do we have to set the Vuex store width and height in here now? Or do we just run this inside of that? Okay. So we'll move this into here, just like that. Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, this is just So we append our source to the image to download image that we just created. And then we wait for that to load. And once it's finished loading, we run a function that runs all this good stuff. So let's do it. Let's see what happens. All right. Bring in our image. Erase that. You know what? Oh, it's bothering me. Let's just comment out or just delete these console logs because it is going crazy. I don't want to see that every single time it updates. And we'll just delete all of this when we're done anyways here. So alright, that's a little bit easier to deal with. Where's that coming from? That is coming from our filter panel, and it is right here, console log this dot index. We don't want to do that anymore. Delete that. And we'll just have to commit everything. Usually we would want to do this in a separate one, but I'm getting tired of. The onload may need to be defined before you set the source. I'm not sure whether that matters. Alright, well, we'll see what happens. So let's bring that in and then click download and see what happens. So it still says no. So if we put onload may need to be defined before you set the source. So does this line need to be above that line? So we set the source after it loads. Let's see. This track is pretty neat. Well, it's not giving us anything now. Because it's not loading anything. Set the source after the onload closes like that. I don't know. Struggling with this JavaScript stuff right now. It's different. It's tricky because they have different components that we're working with. So that's where things get confusing. Set the source after the onload function closes. This is cool. I'm gonna feature this track for this week's track highlight of the night, and it is Gold In, Gold Out by Blue Sky Black Death. I'll link the track in the description if I can find it on YouTube. Otherwise, go check it out on the RabbitWerks Code Beats playlist. Pretty neat. Cool. Let's try. Hold on a second. Let me bring this back up here, and then we're going to take a look at the canvas before we look at the blog, or turn it into a blog to see what we have. So let's just console log canvas. We can just see what that gives us really quick. Canvas width is 0, height 0. So it's probably this thing that's screwing us up. Let me just try. So you're saying the source is correct down here? Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. So it's kind of like an async thing. So like we have to, this is what happens when it loads, and then we load it, and then it fires that function because it's loaded, because we appended a source to it, so it had something to load. Am I understanding that correctly? It's a little confusing. And then you're saying the source is correct where it was, so the context is being applied, or the canvas for the canvas features. Alright, so let's take a look and see what it gives us now. I just want to see uncut. Oh, source is undefined. Everything's broken now. Well, this is a good song too. We featured this one a number of weeks back as a track highlight. It's a really good one. This one is called Tor, or Two Suns by Tor. Again, check out the playlist. Good stuff. Okay, so Josh was saying that the way what I just explained, or just had an epiphany of, I guess you would say, is correct. So basically, if you haven't used these like onloads and stuff, which I haven't done too much of, hence why I'm not understanding it all that well, it's basically like we're writing a function that will be ran when this gets called. So it doesn't get called until we set the source, so that's why we set it after we write that. So what does the context look like? He is asking. So we'll take a look at the context. We need to get, you know what we need to do really quick is bring that back in. I feel like I don't know. So it's not working the best with Alright, let's console log the context too, just to see what we got. We have our filters in there, and if we adjust it, they're changing as well. So we need to get the size right, and I think it's this destructured thing that's going on here. And exactly, so we're going to check and see if these are even being defined correctly, I guess. So and there might be a better way to do this, but this is a surefire way that I know that I'll get exactly what I'm looking for. Well, it must be working right though, because it's extracted the filter string just fine. I don't know. Let's see. $24, $25, $26, $23. Well, it looks like do I have to pass it into, pass like stuff into it or something? Let's see. I don't know why it's not giving it a height, but let's just try and take this out. And just add in this dot image dot. And we can cut it out, and let's see, we want to add it here. And if you hold Alt in VS Code and click, you'll get the multiple cursors. So if you didn't know that, so we're going to put them everywhere that we need a this dot image dot on it. I think that's everywhere. And right here. Cool. Just like that, and let's see what that gives us. Oops, that's not the right thing. Delete that. My macro got goofed up. Okay, that's alright. Auto and auto. Cool. And let's click download. We still have 0 and 0. So we have values, but they're just not being applied. Let's see, what does this say? And all the way down here to width 0. Is it because it's... I feel like this const and let stuff was screwing us up before. But that's working. So the context is working. It's just the height and the width is not working. So it's not giving us anything. So let's try changing const to let and see if that changes it. No. What if we just try and, okay. Let's just try to data URL. Let's say data console.log data. I just want to see if this is giving us anything if we change it to that. Refresh, paste, download. It's not saying anything. Oh, because that's not how it works on this thing. The image is much larger than your canvas, which could be breaking it. That's probably what's going on. Okay, so let's see. Let's just back up here a second. Back to blob on that. So, okay, so what we need to do is get the correct values for the width and the height, not these ones, but what was that word that they used? I don't know. The intrinsic values. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's see what we can get here. So let's go back into the filter input and where is it? Oh, not in this one. It is our load image component. Pass in the width and the height for testing. Oh, okay, that's a good idea. So we will say not in this component. So Josh was saying when we make the new image, we'll pass in the width and the height for testing purposes. So this song is quite low. That's alright though. I'm not going to worry about it because the next song I'll forget to turn down and it'll be too loud. So this image width and this image height. So we set the width and the height of the image when we create it instead of it being inherited by the size of the image. And so now if it works, we know that that was what was causing the issue. But if it doesn't, something else is going on. Image is not defined. Where is it? 24. Oh, that's because that's a comma, not a period. Alright, let's clean up this white space a little bit. And we'll run it one more time, and looks like we're still getting the same result. Interesting. Yeah, refresh. We could actually just try and that's the wrong terminal. Let's cancel this out and bring our server back up one more time. See what happens. It's strange. This app has just not been easy at all. It's supposed to be an easy project, but it's just turned out to be a roadblock at every corner. But it's alright, it's the way it goes sometimes. We're not even getting... Let's see. Do you think we need to put this in a separate function, and then call it? But I don't know. I'll have to do some more debugging, but for now, I think let's get add. Oh, this isn't the right terminal. Get add all. Get commit. And we're just gonna say. Stuck. Canvas isn't accepting right values. Cool. Alright. Let's come back to that at another point. And Josh had a suggestion about putting the actual image ref into the store, and that would be a lot like his code for testing for debugs. So this is the method that we have to change at some point in the near future. I'm just looking through this code really quick. Give me a second. Josh just informed me that apparently when I was vacuuming up some water, my mic was still on. So I apologize about that. Anybody who had headphones in, I'm so sorry. I thought that when I was on break, my mic was muted, but or it didn't even pick up audio, but I could be way off. Anyways. Okay, so what are we at right now? While Josh was going to explain that a little bit further in depth to me, help me out a little bit. I want to try and get this filter thing, overflow thing figured out. And so what do we need to do? Let's go into the filter panel right here, and I believe it's just this outer div. Panel right here, title. We could say, oh, maybe the inner is so we have the header that stays there. We could say this inner filter panel inner group wrapper. Input group wrapper. That's a very verbose class name. Alright. So let's pull that in. Down to our styles down here. Filter panel, input group wrapper. Alright, and then say overflow scroll. Like that. That should give us what we want. So in this case, overflow Y. We don't want overflow X. And we can give it some padding so it's not right up against that. But so like if the screen size was this long, you see how it kind of scrolls? It's kind of nice. We could reduce the padding on the right side so it's more lined up. Okay, so to do that in this filter panel object, you could say, so the top and the bottom right now are set to 0.5 rem, and the left and the right are set to 1 rem. So we could say, let's just duplicate that. So we say the bottom is 0.5 rem and 1 rem for the left. Now, if we go over to this one right here, the right side, we can change that to like 0.25 rem or something. It should bring it closer. We could just actually maybe say 0 and see if that looks weird or not. It looks alright, I guess. I don't know. It seems really close. Let's say 0.5 rem. Okay. So with that, there. Now if we gave our filter input group wrapper a little bit of padding on the right here, then it should take this slider away from it ever so slightly. So let's say padding right and say 1 rem. Let's see what that looks like. Kind of balance it out. Alright, cool. Looks nice. Okay, so that looks pretty neat. I like that. And that would be for if we could make it go away for some media queries. So if screen size is larger than, the screen height is larger than whatever this is at. Let's see. 100. Let me just turn that on. Okay, so I like the way that looks. Let's see if we can look at our work log really quick. And just mark that off. Looks neat. Maybe we should get these display filter values in there. Joshua in the Discord was actually in the RabbitWerks Discord server. Well, actually in just a private message, but go check it out. He was saying that maybe it has something to do with, if we look at this thing right here, and then, or not in this component, but this right here, this get image size, could be screwing it up from a scoping issue. We're gonna see what happens here. Josh wants to look at the code, so I'm gonna push it. So git push. He's probably gonna say no because I have modified files. Oh no, it's gonna let me. All right, it's there. So, okay, while he plays around with that, we're gonna look at get some display on this, some values displayed here on this filter panel. So, we can actually make a new branch since we haven't committed anything yet. Let's see. Okay, so sorry about that. Let's see. We're gonna say git checkout. Remember last time checkout -b is the shorthand for making a new branch and checking out at the same time. We'll call it filter something. Filter values display. Remember to spell it right, because once you have a branch, it's there. Alright, cool. So we checked out that branch we just made. We're in filter values display now, and what do we want to do here? Let's go into the component that we want to look at. So filter panel has this stuff on there. We can just add that right away. Git add all, git commit, and that's gonna have stuff in there. And it's gonna say updated or update overflow. Scroll on. Neat. Okay, so we have that on there, and let's see. So we want to probably put it on this right side here, on each of them. And now that I look at it, we could probably just have that reset button here and a randomize button. That would be cool. And also we could have individual reset buttons for each of them and show the value. And this station is just playing all the good tunes tonight. We had this one as a track highlight last week. Aura Lore by Tor, another Tor track. Go and check them out. Really good artist, really good beats. I like it. Cool. Okay, so we want to let's start simple and let's just not get ahead of ourselves by any means. And we're just going to put a value right there. So if we go into the filter input, should be under the label, just like that. Alright, so what we want to do is wrap this label in. If we look at, take a inspect it, it's this whole thing. We just want to wrap this label in its own div, because we're going to have the label inside of there, and we're also going to have another span on the other side for the value to display in. Okay. So we can just let's just cut that out for now, tab, and we'll say dot filter name. We'll say filter info outer. Filter info outer. And I mean, I guess we could turn this into its own component, but for now we're not going to. We're just going to keep it in here, and then it would take about a minute and a half to convert it into its own component and pass stuff in as props. So maybe we'll see. It's getting late. We have about 15 minutes or so left in the stream for this evening, and then I gotta call it, unfortunately, but it's been a good session. We're stuck on that download thing. I'm sorry, but we're gonna get it figured out, and it will be happening next week, I promise. Well, don't ever promise. I guess that's the thing. Don't promise in software, only deliver. So, but I'm gonna do my best to make it happen. That'll be my focus in debugging, figuring out why it's not working, because all of the other test cases have worked until we get to the stream, and it's just goes to show that nothing ever goes the way it's planned, especially when you need it to. So let's finish up this label and this value display, and then wrap things up for the night. So what do we want to do in this situation? So what's the next step we want to do in this filter info outer wrapper that we have now? Let's just bring in our label again and tab that out, and then bring this back. So we have this label item, and now we need to get a span in here. So we'll just say span, and inside here we can say, do some string interpolation with the double curly braces, and we'll say filter dot, what is it called, current. Right, so, and that gives us that, but we need to adjust, and let's see, does it change? Sweet, it changes. And then let's just say we want to add the filter.suffix as well. So, because each of them has their own deal. Most of them are percent except for the hue rotate, but that's right. It looks better with the suffix on there, in my opinion. Okay, so, but we don't want it displayed like that. We want to stretch them out across. So we are going to add in some Flexbox classes. So let's set this to Flexbox. And then we're going to just add it as, or actually we can just say Flexbox space between. Just like that. And that's its own class. So see, it pops in there all nice and neat and sweet. Cool. I think that looks pretty nice. And then if we update it, the changes, we have like 250% contrast, 50 to 150% brightness, hue rotate all the way up to 360 degrees, invert up to 100%, saturate up to 250% 0, and sepia, which is that like old worldy thing. So we want a reset filters button. We could probably make some sort of like reset each individual filter. I like it. We could probably just, usually I think the traditional thing is to do a double click and then it'll reset it, so like we could do that. I don't know, looks pretty cool. I like it. Alright, so if we wanted to add in, let's see, so let's take these labels really quick and let's turn them into their own little components. Really quick. So in the filter panel, filter input, and we can do right click on the filter panel folder. We'll create a new file and we'll call it filter info.vue. Oh, I think I have a typo there. I capitalized the I. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to delete it. Let's see. It's really dumb that they have the rename right next to the delete. Delete should be on the bottom or something, and then it should, I think it's supposed to prompt you normally, but I think I was just turned it off because I'm silly like that. Okay, no, I don't want to rename that. I want to create a new file, and we're going to call it filter info.vue. Alright, cool. So sc to scaffold out our boilerplate. And there's just one thing that we need to get in, that's going to be we're going to have to transfer our filters, our filter, capitalized filter, and then this label style. Cool. Well, it looks like Josh in the chat says he got it figured out. He figured out what was going on with the canvas downloading issue, so that is sweet. And he's gonna send us probably some code over the Discord server, and let's see if we can get it finished. So let's see if we can finish this component by the time he sends that over. All right, so let's take this, all this stuff right here, this outer wrapper, and we're just gonna cut it all out. Bring it into our filter info.vue, paste it in there, fix the indentation. And then we need to import, or we're going to set up a props object, or props array, and then we're going to have our filter be passed in as props. We have filters all there just like that. The next thing we want to do is we're going to scope this, and then we need to just bring in our filters panel right here, our filters panel, this capitalized filter that we built, and that just takes some text and capitalizes the first letter. So we can just take all of that out of here, and we're just going to bring it into this component now. So underneath props, paste that in, make sure to fix the indentation. Cool. And that takes care of that. Next thing, we just need to bring in our label. Cut that out. Bring that into our other component now again. So we have that in there, which is looking nice. And then the last thing we need to do is actually pass this and register it on our parent component now. So let's import it. Import, what is it? filter info / filter info, just like that. Excellent. Now underneath our props we will register the components. Alright, and then we will say in our kebab case filter info, just like that, and that is going to be our filter info component, just like that. Sweet. And then we just need to bring it in here, so we will say filter info, tab that out, and then we just need to pass in filter is equal to filter. Oop. Make sure to put it in quotes. And boom, everything is in there. Let's see if it works. Everything still works. Awesome. Neat. That was pretty simple. Alright, so let's clean up that white space. Let's see what we need to do. Clean that up right here. I think that's good to go. So let's add it. Not get add, comma, get add all, git commit -m added filter info component display value. So git commit. Whoop. Hit push -u origin, and this is going to be, we have to get push set upstream as the origin, so the remote repository, and then the branch that we're pushing to, so the branch we're working on. So filter, if we hit tab, it should autocomplete. Alright, cool. And then, so if we just hit enter on that, it should push it to a new branch on our GitHub repository, and that is golden. Alright, so let's go back to our branch, because it looks like inside RabbitWerks JavaScript component, the Discord, Josh has posted the solution, or what was going on. So basically what he determined to be the issue with the canvas was that we were passing in values to it with the pixel units suffix at the end of it, and that was causing an error in causing it to not render because it wasn't a valid property, or it wasn't valid to send it into the canvas, so it wasn't rendering properly. So the solution is to remove that, and it looks like he's got a bit of a code snippet for us to take a look at. So let's first check out that branch. So let's say git checkout, and we're gonna say download image, and that'll bring us, and you notice how really quick, if we look at all this stuff, it's just back to how it looked before we did any of that work. And they say it's deleted from disk and stuff. Well, we switched branches, so it's basically changing our file history, file structure, everything back to how we were at when we were on this branch. And yeah, really quick, if we switch back to filter values display branch, you'll see that everything changes back to how it was when we first had it. So this label is going to be gone, this filters will be gone, so let's watch that happen. and you see that it pulls in this filter info component. This no longer says it's deleted from disk because it rewrote it again. Everything is stored in this Git folder, and Git version history and all that stuff it can get super big because it's basically storing copies and everything inside of that Git folder, so you can go back and like it stores the history of it. So basically it makes stuff like this very easy to work on multiple things. It's awesome. Git is cool. So let's continue Git checkout, and I can't ever remember. Download image, and notice that everything changed again. Let's close that out. I'll show you how we get back to that once we're done with all this stuff. So let's close out these components, and we can open up our display image. Nope, not that, sorry. It was in our download button component. All right, so let's see if we have this is cool because this is sampled from N64's Legend of Zelda. Like that. That's cool. Alright, I'm just going to copy this code snippet in because we're running out of time, but we'll explain it when I get finished pasting it in. Alright, so basically this is the same thing. Let's see if we can. So substring is a property. Let's see if we can pull it up, or a method. There's a method on the string prototype. Basically, you can substring method returns part of a string between the start and the end indexes, or to the end of the string. So you can pick out different sections of the string that you want to take out. So for instance, it says right here the string is equal to Mozilla. They take out between the first and third index, and that is OZ. So pretty cool. So what we're doing here is we're passing in the substring of this.image.width, which is that denotation of like 645 pixels, and we're gonna say the first index, or the 0 index, so the first entry, and then the second, the length, -2. So it'll take off those 2 pixels and return that, just the number. So we're going to do that for the image and the height, and then what we have set here is we're just setting the cross origin to anonymous, so that we don't run into any CORS issues, much how we had it set up. Right here, but we're not using this image to bounce to canvas anymore, so we can actually get rid of that. Alright, we'll clean it up after this is working, but we'll probably be able to get rid of that. Alright, so let's see if this is now giving us what we want now. Alright, so we can get rid of this, bring in alright, where is it? Our image link right there. Now if we click download, hopefully it gives us what we want. I have faith. What is this? Unexpected require. Oh, that's because we don't have that component anymore. And it's trying to import it, so let's not worry about that. Let's refresh this, and we can paste that in there. Click download, and it's we need to fix this really quick. It's going to be image to download, I believe. Or we have to pass in the same things. That snippet doesn't look right. Yeah, we're missing the substring parts for the canvas, the width, and the context for the draw. So we have to pass in those two property evaluations into right here. Just like that. Let's open this up so we can see it a little bit better. Alright, and then we need to do it for this as well. So we're just going to take the width, right here, and then we need to do the substring. Oops. We need to do the substring on the height as well. Sorry, a lot of copy and pasting. So basically that substring snippet that just takes the first three, it removes the pixel from our height and width values. And we want to do that for the new image, when we initialize the new image, when we set the canvas width and height, we're doing it, and then when we draw the image to the canvas context, we're doing it as well. We will probably have to go back and refactor this just so we can clean it up, and because it's really we can do it a lot better. So cool. But thanks for that suggestion. I want to see if this works now, and then we'll go from there. We're running out of time. We're going late. Alright, that's alright. Let's see. Pull up our image, and now if we click download, we have a height. Height is working. Oh, because we're missing this. Sorry, Josh, I'm butchering your code. Okay, one more time. Paste it in, download, and we have a blob. Sweet! Cool. You rock. That is super cool. Thank you so much, Josh, for helping us out. That is a good call. I would have never thought. Maybe at some point it would have come to me, I'm sure, but I wouldn't have thought right now that the pixel suffix on that was throwing it off, but it makes sense. It's something that you could easily miss. So sometimes the best way to get something debugged is to have somebody else look at your code and with a fresh set of eyes. That's basically what Josh has been helping us throughout this whole app, and it's been enormously helpful. So massive props to you, and cool. So let's see, where are we at? Yeah, we'll have to go through and refactor this so it's not so this dot, this dot, this dot, and this dot, and this dot. Cool. Alright, 1 second, guys. And gals. And gals, sorry. Everybody, hold on 1 second. I gotta go check stuff. Now my mic is off, right? Alright, cool. So and now Josh was saying we can destructure it and rewrite it, and which we will. We'll probably do that next session. Let's just finish up this download link and then call it a night. It's getting late and I got water to vacuum up, as you guys all know. So yeah, what's next? Okay, so back to where we were before. We have document, we created a link, and we have an anchor tag set to that variable. What do we need to do next? Well, we need to set we need to create that URL from a blob object. So let's take a look at this guy and see. It's just an image blob type image proto size type. Interesting. Cool. So let's create a URL from that, and then so we just say const URL, and then it will be set equal to URL dot create object URL, and this is where we pass in the blob, right, just like that. Cool. Now that we have that passed in there, we can append the URL to the href attribute of our link. So we'll say link dot set attribute, and it will be on the href. So we pass that in as the first argument as a string, and then the URL variable that we have set to our object URL. And then what is the next thing we want to set as? We're going to set the download attribute to the name of the object or the image that we'll download it as. So link.set attribute, and it is download, and that second argument we pass in for now is just going to be the filtered image .png, and it should automatically get the extension on it. So, but we can also add it in like that. So we have that, and then the last thing we got to do is just do a link.click, and that basically simulates the user clicking on it and actions it. We're not making a generator, just like that, and cool. Now, if all goes according to plan, we should be able to download this bad boy. Alright, let's bring that in there. And if we click download, we got something downloading. We open it. And I don't see anything. Let's try adjusting that. Let's open that up. To prevent memory leaks. Wonder. Oh yeah, and then we just need to figure out why this isn't running. Download. I wonder if it's because it's too big. No, it can't be too big. Am I missing something else? We have it downloading, but we don't have any info on there. Let's try a refresh. Yeah, it doesn't look like anything's there. do we need, how come it only has one value for the size? Is that just like all the pixels? So each pixel. No. If I inspect the file, is it empty? That's a good question. Let's take a look. Downloads. Looks like it's 5 kilobytes. The dimensions are 545 by 630 or 363. So it's the size of the canvas, which is fine because we haven't fixed that yet. But it does have size to it. It just doesn't have any color to it. Anyways, okay, well, we won't be able to figure this one out tonight. I'm gonna look into it a little bit further. We got it downloading though, so that's 9/10 of the battle right there. We just need to get it displaying properly. So come back next week and we'll have the answer for you. But I do have to wrap things up, unfortunately, for the evening. It's already 15 minutes past the longest time that I try to shoot for, but it's been alright. We got some good things done. So before we go really quick, I'm just going to finish up that feature for showing how to merge. So let's just merge, since we're going to be working in this download image, let's just merge our other branch that we made for the display, the filter values, into this branch for now. So we can say whoa. Some big wows going on there. Okay, so we'll say we can just take a look at it really quick. So if we remember correctly, we have this is what we came up with, and then if we are in our download image branch, we don't have that. So what we need to do is we need to merge that other branch in our filter value display branch into our download image branch. So all we need to do is just say git merge, and it's going to be the branch. Make sure you're doing this on the branch that you want to merge it into. So we want to merge in this branch. No, I'm sorry. We want to merge a different branch into this branch. So we're on this download image branch, and we want to merge a different branch into this download image branch. So we make sure that we're on the branch we want to merge into. Type in git merge and then the name of the branch that you want to merge into the branch you're on. So it is, what is it? Filters, values, display. And weird, it looks like Joshua was saying that it downloaded on his computer just fine. It might be an issue just with all my stuff. I might need to just respin it up. But I will definitely push everything to GitHub, and if it works, it works. We'll have to try it. But so git merge, filter values display, and if we hit enter, it will automatically merge it. And it looks like we didn't have any merge conflicts this time around, which is awesome. But if we do ever come across a merge conflicts, we'll walk through on how to do it. And VS Code makes it super easy to deal with merge conflicts really easily and not have to worry about like screwing anything up. So, and you can see right here what was changed. It looks like we had a bunch of removals from our filter panel, filter input panel, and then a little bit from our filter panel. We had a bunch of additions to our filter info.view component, and it's there. And look, we're still on our download image branch, and we have our new feature in there. So sweet. Now let's just git add everything. And we'll say git commit -m and we'll say merge, or let's say download, update, download URL, working-ish, and filter value display feature merged. Cool. Just like that, and git push. And after you set the upstream on each branch that you're working on, all you have to do is type git push and it works. It'll automatically send it to the correct branch. And cool. So I think that is going to do it. Let me just try going back to this. I'm gonna close out of this and spin out the server one more time. Copy this out. Give this a refresh. Load in that and then click it. Let's see what happens here. Nothing. Yeah, I don't know. Joshua was saying that it works on his computer, that it downloads and it displays just fine, but it's not running. It's not working for some reason on this end. So I don't know. It could be whatever reason. We'll figure it out and come back next week with the answer. And if you figure it out before then, let us know in the Discord server. Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, I think before anything else, what am I forgetting? Oh, I just wanted to give out a special shout out to everybody at the Minneapolis or the Minnesota Vue.js meetup. We had our inaugural meetup this evening earlier, and a group of about 25 people or so. That's super stoked about Vue, and it seems like it'll be a really good community to be a part of. So I'm going to be doing a talk on Vuex there, and I'm super stoked on that. It'll be my first talk, so I'm excited, and it'll be a lot of fun. So hopefully we can get that. My goal is to at least record the video of the talk. It would be cool to do a whole lot and just stream it, but we'll have to see what happens. That might be asking a little much, but anyways, big shouts to the Minneapolis Vue.js meetup crew and Minneapolis or the Vue Vixens MN chapter, who is also a part of that meetup as well now. And cool, it's a great community. Also, let's say one more thanks to Josh for all the help he's given us throughout the project and tonight. Thank you so much. What else am I forgetting? I have in the works a coupon code, I guess you could say, about a friend of mine is in the process of opening up a developer clothing store, like a developer brand that he's coming up with and branding as. So there's a lot of cool designs that he has coming out with hats, hoodies, shirts, and all custom designs. I think he's got some Vue.js associated stuff as well. So he's gonna get that up and running, and he said that he's got a coupon code for everybody who all of the subscribers and the viewers of the RabbitWerks JavaScript channel. So when that's up and running, we'll get that code out and you can go check it out and maybe get some cool stuff. Totally up to you, whatever you want to do. Just spreading the love by any means. Anyways, cool. Make sure to check out the RabbitWerks Discord server. The link will be in the description. Make sure to check out the RabbitWerks Code Beats Spotify playlist. You've been listening to it all session, so if you like what you hear, go check it out and follow it, and I'll be constantly curating that playlist as I go along, and hopefully it'll help you to be as productive in code writing as it does for me. And cool. What about again, I have tons of RabbitWerks dev stickers, so if anybody's interested in getting a pack of RabbitWerks dev stickers, feel free to hit me up. Best way to do it is just through the Discord server. And I will get in contact with you and send them out via US Postal Service. So I'm stoked on everybody who has gotten theirs, and I'm stoked on everybody who will be getting theirs soon. So make sure to let me know when you get them, if you do get them. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of RabbitWerks Live Coding. And I think that's going to do it for the evening. So no matter where the sun or the moon is in the sky, above you or below you, if it's sunny, if it's snowy, if it's wintry, rainy, cold, any combination of awesome or not so awesome, thank you so much for being here. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, evening, morning, whatever it is. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to head out. I have some water, just vacuum. Have a good night. Peace. And stay awesome.